The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Blowing out of the backfield, exploding down the sideline.
This is Hangin' with the Boys, presented by Wingstop, where flavor gets its wings.
Hey, it's Wacky Wild Wingstop Wednesday. Welcome to Hangin' with the Boys, where I guess for one more day it's hanging with the boys and a girl. Welcome to the show. Ambar Garcia, Danny McCray, Rob Phillips. I am Shannon Gross, and our lovely producer Chris Beam just notified me that it is actually Wingstop Wednesday at the Star. They have catered to our employees that are working at the Star today. So shout out to Wingstop for spreading the love. Usually we're the only ones that get to eat free food from them. So shouts out to Wingstop. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Great. Yeah, okay, just I'll jump in at once. Let me tell you how this show works. Just because it announces me as the host on this show, this is a participation, an equal participation from everyone on this call, or whatever we're saying on this show. So the way it works is I say, how are y'all doing today? And then everyone responds with however you're doing today. So let's try this again. How are y'all doing today?
Everybody at the same time.
Great, Coach Garrett.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Good coach. Good coach.
Amazing. It's hump day. Hump day. We're ecstatic.
That's right.
Good. It's funny that y'all bring up Coach Garrett, a good buddy of mine that he was the head coach here in Dallas at Brookhaven's baseball team. He huge Cowboys fan, and he sent me a screenshot this morning. 10 years ago today, he posted on Facebook, second interview I heard from Coach Garrett. I really like this guy. And then 10 years later,
oh man, listen, good. We over the Jason Garrett slander here.
Hey, I'm not slandering Jason Garrett. I actually like Jason Garrett. I thought, a lot of people gave him a hard time for for being consistent, really, is what a lot of people gave him a hard time for. I actually appreciated his consistency and his, he never wavered from the message. He never, wavered from the attitude that he had. A lot of people had a problem with it, but I actually, appreciated that you always knew what you were going to get. And, as an employee, I mean, he wasn't my boss, but, I guess technically he's the player's boss. As an employee, I've always appreciated, a boss that, was no BS. You knew exactly what you were going to get every day that you came to work. And, they were, you got that consistency. So I was always on the Coach Garrett train. Now, when it came to Sundays, obviously there were some questionable calls that were made and decisions and things like that. But as a person and the way he handled business, I always enjoyed it. So no slander from me.
I'm a straight up Jason Garrett fan, and the host on my normal show, who I won't call his name now. He's not that big of a fan of JG, so we kind of go back and forth on this often. But you're right, consistent. We've been to the playoffs. We had some rough seasons. We dealt with some injuries and all that stuff. But anytime something came out bad about JG, I would always defend him because I was personally in the locker room with him, so I knew how some of that stuff went and how some of it was possibly blown out of proportion. So I'm a fan. I love the guy, and I'm happy that he's working up there in New York, and he might get the head coaching job up there soon.
You know what, Danny?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You bring up a really interesting point because you came in 2010, right? That was your first year here,
mm-hmm.
And that was Jason's first year as the interim coach, right? Your rookie season was during the transition from Wade to Jason. And
oh wow,
we've been talking this week and the last few weeks about Mike McCarthy trying to put his stamp on his own program. Like, how much time do you think that takes for a coach to do that? Because I think obviously we talked yesterday on the show about progress, even though it was a loss against the Steelers. But how long does it take for guys to buy in or get used to schemes or adjustments like that, you think?
I think you need a full off season and training camp, to get that, because you're looking at almost 6 months of being around the coaching staff and learning how they speak, learning how they move, learning what they expect. So you really need a full off season, OTAs and training camp to get that full buy-in. That's why I'm sure Mike McCarthy will still be here through next year. But let me tell you, the one thing that I disliked the most about the slander with Jason Garrett was I thought it was like crazy that people said that he somehow called bad plays for Wade Phillips. And then all of a sudden when Wade Phillips got fired, he found out how to get us running a good offense. I thought that was crazy, and football doesn't work that way. So that's how it started, and I think that stuff just ran on 10 years.
During the 1-7 start, you mean in 2010?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just crazy talk from fans. I think. I mean, really, like that's like the ultimate disrespect you could give somebody is that they were doing that on purpose. Yeah,
it didn't make sense, and they ran with it. And I was like, that's not JG. That's not the guy I know anyway. So, it started there, and then it ended when he got let go previously.
Amber, you've let it be known on your show that you're on normally your frustrations with Coach Garrett. How do you feel now that your whole time? How long have you been with the organization now? 4 years? 5 years?
Probably like 6 years.
Oh wow. Okay, so we got some long timers here on the show. So you've been here 6 years. Now you've gone through a coaching transition. This is your first one, a coaching change. Do you like the direction the Cowboys are headed? Do you like what Coach McCarthy? Obviously, the on-field performance is not good. There's a lot of things that contributed to that. But what do you think so far? Halfway through Mike McCarthy's first year as a coach, do you like the progress, or do you like where this is going?
Well, I think that obviously a change was definitely needed. And when you talk about Jason Garrett, I personally like Jason Garrett as a person. I thought he's a great speaker, great guy, great person and everything. Obviously, game day was very questionable. And the point is that every year the results were very similar. So at the end of the day, a change was needed. He's a guy that was very consistent with his mentality and everything. Even when he would go inside the studio to shoot his show, everything needed to be the same way every week. So it's like at some point, you got to evolve, you got to change with the years. You got to keep improving and finding the new things to do. With Mike McCarthy, I think he brings just a breath of fresh air, just something completely different. It's tough, and I've asked this on our show on the break. I asked the guys, I'm like, okay, how long does it usually take for a coaching change to actually start being successful, for you to start seeing the results, similar to what Rob was just talking about? Because my problem is, from the time that I've been here, it's sad and unfortunate that you see talent going to like wasting years, let's say, and when you get a good player that's doing well and all this, and then here goes another year where you weren't able to capitalize on that kind of talent. For example, the O-line, when the O-line was at its prime, the Cowboys weren't able to necessarily get the best out of that. So to me, that's what I see, that it's just sad. Every year waiting, and every year you see great talent just kind of wasting years and not taking advantage of those veteran guys that you are a fan of and that you hope to see in a Super Bowl. I'm a huge fan of Sean Lee, and poor guy, he's barely playing this year, and it breaks my heart not seeing him or Jason Witten being able to get a chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Another thing that really frustrates me along that line of wasting talent is, there are guys that leave here that are, second, third string special teams guys, and they seem to leave here and go to other systems or go to other teams, and they flourish. I mean, you look at the Chiefs, they picked up Anthony Hitchens that, obviously they let him go because, the money situation, but I think, he was a great player with a huge arrow pointing up. Damian Wilson went to the Chiefs as well and was kind of a special teams guy here, and he's a major contributor on that defense. Danny, what causes, from a player perspective, what causes players, and I'm sure this happens around the league, I'm sure it happens everywhere, it's just that we're so in tune with this team and we see it on a daily, yearly basis, that it seems like a lot of guys leave here and then they go other places and their career or their opportunities kind of blossom. Does that happen everywhere and we're just overly critical, or is that something that's an issue here?
It absolutely happens everywhere. Listen, some players are system players. Like when you think about Sean Lee's best days, to me, when Rob Ryan was here, he was running around in 3-4. Some of the schemes that we ran that allowed him to maximize what he was able to do in coverage and just being free and roaming and making tackles. And then you see a guy like Anthony Hitchens, when he went to Kansas City, he was in a scheme that allowed him to do similar things to what Sean Lee was doing. The thing that Anthony Hitchens is good at is seeing the ball and attacking it, right? He doesn't really have to think about it. Once he sees a hole, he can rush in there and make that tackle. And Kansas City runs a scheme that allows him to do that. So sometimes you just get in those situations where, Rob Marinelli's scheme might not work for that player, but when he goes to a 3-4 scheme and gets a little bit different coaching, it just works out. So it happens all over the league. I don't think it's specifically just tied to the Cowboys.
Rob, what do you think so far about the McCarthy era in this short sample that we have? Do you like where the direction it's going, or is it still too early to tell for you?
I think it's still too early to tell, just because, and this is going to sound like excuse making, but I just think it's the reality of this year that we've never seen a year like this. And Amber's right. I mean, it's frustrating because you only get 16 games a year, and when you lose your top players and you're trying to establish a new culture with new schemes, and you just don't have the time to do it the way you probably want to do it, and maybe they tried to do too much early on, at least defensively, and they scaled it back. It's just, I don't know if this year was ever really set up for them to have as much success as they want to have. The injuries have compounded that, and just poor play has compounded that too. I mean, that early stretch of the season, and it's really carried in all year, the turnovers have been the biggest problem, and that kind of goes back to last year too. Some of the same stuff that we've seen where they get behind early, some of it's their own fault, and they can't overcome slow starts. And that's what's really interesting about McCarthy's time in Green Bay. Yes, he had Aaron Rodgers, who one of the greatest ever, not only at quarterback, but taking care of the ball as a quarterback. They were always good in the turnover differential. That's what McCarthy builds his teams on. That's not the case at all this season. I think they're last still in the ratio. And until they get that fixed, injuries or not, they're always going to be in a situation where they're kind of walking the line of win or lose every week. But I agree with Danny that it usually takes some time in a normal year, and this is the farthest thing from a normal year we've ever seen. So I think you've got to – I don't think we're going to really be able to evaluate this program that McCarthy's trying to establish until, give it till midway through next year and just kind of see how things are going. And that's
really?
That's hoping that we have some sense of normalcy by this time next year. Which I guess, we're all day to day at this point.
Big if right now. Yeah. So you're willing to give this thing another full season from this point.
The whole thing?
You're thinking halfway through next year?
Oh yeah. I mean, you just listen to the Joneses talk about this. They are all in on Mike. I mean, and I buy that. Like, I think they recognize kind of just the circumstances, and they also draw on his past too. I think everybody looks at Mike's time in Green Bay and said, well, he had so much success and he won a Super Bowl and they went to 5 NFC championship games. Well, his first year there in 2006, they started 1-4 and they finished 8-8. And so I think the Joneses are sold on the fact that he can build a program.
Rob.
Yeah.
Rob, so you think the whole staff or just McCarthy? Oh,
well, definitely McCarthy. I mean, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they do with when you don't have success in certain spots. The staff always changes to some degree if you don't make the playoffs. But I don't know. I mean, he has been. I think Kellen Moore is on solid ground for sure, and I know Mike Nolan's gotten a ton of criticism. But Mike has been a staunch supporter of his, and we got to kind of see how the defense goes. If they continue this trajectory, then maybe everything is going to work out. But it's a small sample size. We've seen 2 weeks of the defense really taking hold the way you want it to. So it's a long way to go. What do you think, Dan? I mean, do you think they should make changes if it keeps going the way it's going?
One absolutely. I'm not really sold on a defensive coordinator, but I don't think he should be let go, based off what happened so far. But specifically the defensive back coaches, I think there's an issue there. You've seen a guy like Brandon Carr come in and get released. You've seen Worley come in and not be able to play up to his potential. You've seen the rookies and the young guys not really progress and pick up where they left off last year, and you've seen them get a little better. You haven't seen any of that. You've actually seen them get worse. You've seen their eyes be in the wrong place. You've seen them not be able to play basic cover 1, basic cover 3. You've seen them not be able to make tackles. You've seen a clear drop off from what they were, and no improvement from the young guys that they brought in. And I think that leans heavily on what they're being taught in the defensive back room. So if I was picking one, that had to bite the bullet, I would say they would start with the defensive backs.
Well, you would know. You would know better than any of us, for sure.
You would, for sure. Amber, how long is your leash? Rob's leash is extremely long.
Not extremely long. I'm not saying 10 years here. But I'm just, saying let's give it this a little time.
But for your expectation, you're expecting this thing to turn around, and you're willing to give it a whole nother year. So basically, a year and a half is when you're expecting to start see results, or is the year and a half when you would start to think making a coaching change?
Oh, well, I mean, as far as the head coach, no. I mean, I think they've got Mike here for the long haul. I really do think that. I do think though.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 years, right?
Yeah, but once you get into next season, and I'm assuming that if they can have a normal offseason and a normal training camp, I think once that next season starts, I think now that's the clock of, okay, are they making progress? Are they, and we're going to see more down the stretch here, but I do think with a new staff, man, you've got to be able to, like Danny said, to have that camp time, that time on task, just some of the little situational things. And it's also a staff that's getting to learn each other on how to work with each other. The staff was new too. I sound like I'm making a ton of excuses. They haven't played well. I'm really not trying to. I just think, though, I do think it's just such a weird year that it's hard to really evaluate everything fully.
I was about to say we 8 weeks into it, man. That training, that full off season is counted now.
But we're starting to see it a little bit better, So maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they caught the Steelers on a bad day, and so we'll find out after the bye week if they really do have momentum or not.
We'll see. Amber, before we go to break, how long is your leash with this team right now, or this coaching staff?
It's very short. Definitely not as long of a leash like Rob. I don't have the patience for it. I'm a very sensitive person, but when it comes to football, I am not, because you got my hands sweaty, my heart beating fast, and got me nervous and angry. That my leash is very short. So I think, to be fair, yes, this has been a crazy year. So I would not go as far as making a head coaching change. I would give that a little bit more of time. But I'm with Danny. When you look at the defense, I think there are some changes that need to be made on that side if we go back to seeing what we've been seeing for the first half of the season. Let's see what the second half of the season brings. But just in general, it cannot be just the players on the field. I mean, Mike Nolan might be a great coach, but maybe just not in this locker room, maybe just not with the Cowboys. Maybe his voice is just not loud enough in there, and the guys don't necessarily understand his vocabulary or something, because clearly there has been a lack of communication there. So I would look at certain areas and make changes there, definitely, if we don't see improvement in the second half of this season.
That is true. I mean, Danny could speak to this again better than any of us, but you got to have buy-in from the players. I mean, the coach's message, when you struggle like they've struggled the first half of the season, you can't put it on just players' execution. And maybe you can make most of it that if you want to, but it's also what's being relayed during the week, how the practices are, and if guys are being put in the best spots to succeed. So it's never just one thing.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit on everybody's side here. I think this year you get a free pass basically with the brand new coaching staff and trying to come in with new scheme and new players and things like that. I think as long as you are making progress, and it took them a while to get to this point, but I think, like you said, Rob, the last 2 games on defense, they've done a little bit. They turned it around a little bit. We'll see coming out of the bye week if that extra time gets them even further along in that progression. But I think as long as you play, and Danny referred to this yesterday, you show some fight. You go 100 miles an hour. You may not go the right direction, but give me 100 miles an hour, and then if I can get you all going the right direction at 100 miles an hour, then we got something. So I think if they keep along this trajectory, you give them a full, hopefully somewhat normal offseason next year, you got everything in place, I think then that's when the clock really starts ticking. And if you're not in a better place this time next year, then I think we're going to have some real fun conversations on all of our shows about players and coaching staff. So, all right, let's take our first break. We're way behind, but I want you guys to think about something in the break, because you asked me at the beginning of the show what we were going to talk about, and this is really the only thing that I wanted to talk about on the show, and I didn't want to tell you before the show because I didn't want you to have too much time to think about it. Let's think about it. We've all been, as I said before, we've got some long-timers on this show. Danny's been around for, I guess, 10 years now. He's been around the Cowboys organization in some form or fashion. Rob, you've been here off and on for what, 15 years, I guess?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like
15,
that. I've been
16.
around for about 17. Amber, you've been around for 6. Think about it in the break. What is your favorite memory or moment of the Dallas Cowboys while you were here? Something that you were around, something you witnessed, something you were a part of, just any memory. And then let's give we're a little bit over halfway through the season. I've got some questions for you guys. We're going to give out our half-season awards or critiques of certain players, certain positions, things like that to finish out the show. So we will take our first break, and we will be back. Think about it in the break. We'll be right back. You're watching Hanging with the Boys. Ambar Garcia, Rob Phillips, Danny McCray, Shannon Gross. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Is your family a Cowboys family? Have you taken holiday photos at the Star? Was your wedding theme blue and silver? Have you convinced your kids them is spelled with a D? If so, every game day feels like a vacation to you, so treat it like one. Whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Just like all of you, we at SeatGeek can't wait until we're back in the stands at full strength cheering on the Cowboys and singing along to our favorite songs again. We're using this time to make discovering, buying, and selling tickets to events in Dallas easier. Plus, every ticket purchased on SeatGeek is protected by our buyer guarantee, which means you'll get your money back or better if your event is canceled. Guaranteed. Download the SeatGeek app today, and when the time is right, let's go. SeatGeek.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for Hanging with the Boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Hanging with the Boys.
Welcome back to SWBC Mortgage Living Room, live, Frisco, Texas. Shannon Gross, Ambar Garcia, Danny McCray, Rob Phillips back at you. And fellas and lady, adjust your cleats, adjust your pads, can even adjust your helmet, but seriously, don't ever adjust your underwear because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yes, you heard me right, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Cowboy. They have been a big friend of this show for a long time, and we appreciate them coming back as a sponsor this year just because I like doing their live reads. So, there we go. We're back to the show. Now, when we first started the show and y'all asked me before we started the show, hey, what are we talking about today? And I said, I have no idea. I can promise you that Jason Garrett talk was probably not even on the radar or the list, the long list. So that was fun. Got to talk about a little JG. Now, let's start with Rob, since you've been here the longest of everyone except me.
Oh, man, now I'm still thinking.
What is your favorite... Okay, you may skip
Yeah,
you?
skip me. I'm still thinking here.
Danny, do you have a favorite Cowboys memory or a favorite thing that you were a part of?
Absolutely. So, I mean, naturally, the fact that so I came out of college and, I wasn't highly touted. Nobody expected me to get drafted, but I still sat on the couch and looked at the TV, thinking that some miracle would happen. And then I got a call from Will McClay right before the draft ended. And he told me, hey, man, we may not be able to pick you up in the draft, but we will be calling you after, to come in as a free agent. So, they gave me my $5,000 and they told me to come in and try out. And, the rest is history. Everything worked out. Me and Barry Church actually was Kwasi Owusu-Ansah got picked in the 4th round. And then me and Barry Church ended up coming in as undrafted free agents. And it worked out perfectly for us because Kwasi was hurt. We had some other injuries in the DB room. So me and Church got a lot of time to show what we were able to do. And we both ended up making the team and we turned it into some fairly long careers. So it was really just the Cowboys giving me the opportunity to show what I could do and then making the team and turn it into something that, allowed me to do what I love to make a little money.
That's so awesome. And you're from Houston originally, right?
Yeah, Houston,
and then you went to college at LSU, and then so you've kind of been in this area your whole, other than going up to Chicago and dealing with that foul weather they have up there, you've kind of been in this area your whole career and life then, huh?
Listen, if it wasn't for Joe D, I would have never left Dallas. But I love Joe D. Me and him are like we are actually, outside of coaching, being my coach, we are friends. We go get a drink together. We check on family, do all that stuff. So whatever Joe D asked me to do, wherever he needed me to be at, I was gonna be there. So so I went. But if it wasn't for him, no, I would have never left. I love Rich too, but Joe D gave me my shot.
That's awesome. Amber, you have an answer ready, or do you want me to go?
You can go. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. I have one because I know Rob's probably still thinking.
Yeah, I am.
I think probably I have two. One's kind of my job related, and one's kind of not. Probably the career defining moment for me was when social media started being a big deal. 9 or 10 years ago, sports teams, if you can imagine this, didn't have social media. They didn't have social media, one, and they definitely didn't have social media departments. I was working on the merchandise side, running our e-commerce business and our fan club when social started being kind of a thing with brands and a few teams, the NBA was way ahead of the NFL and a few teams were starting to pick it up. And I kind of saw where it was heading and was kind of burnt out a little bit on the merch side. And so I put together a presentation and got in front of Jerry Jr., Derek, some other executives in the company and kind of pitched them, hey, this is what we need to be doing going forward, and was able to really kind of create my own position and thankful that we work for such a great organization that kind of let me, create my own path and kind of create the blueprint for what now is Dallas Cowboys social media. So it was really a unique opportunity and, fortunate enough that we work for, such great people that allow me to, take that and run with it. That's probably one, but probably the coolest thing I've been involved with from like the team side is hands down London. The week that we got to go spend in London was something that I don't know. I've always wanted to go overseas, but I don't know if I would have ever gone and done it. And the game that we played Jacksonville in Wembley Stadium. I think we left here on a Tuesday, and we stayed until the following Monday. Stayed right in the heart of London. They moved us around a little bit, put us in 2 different locations, so we were able to explore the city when we weren't at practice or covering the team, and just that whole experience and flying overseas with the team and the access that we had to different things. And when we landed, the players worked out with the Tottenham Hotspurs, and that was something that you would never be exposed to. We got to go see a soccer match, and just that whole experience and being able to do it. One, the team paid for it because we were employees, but 2, just to be around that and that atmosphere. And the NFL had just started playing games over in London, to be a part of that process, I think. And we went to the Tower of London and ate dinner one night, and the things we were able to do was just something that you would never be able to do on your own, and just really sticks out as probably the best memory I've had it from the team side. All right, Amber, your turn. Enough of me talking.
Okay, well, my story, I can tell an embarrassing story about me. When I first started with the Cowboys, most people already know that I knew zero, nothing about football prior to me starting this job. So when I interviewed, I obviously got hired and all that. So my first video to do was on the field. Every game, after the game, I do a game stand-up on the field. And my first one was a preseason game. First time of me being on the field. Even though everyone's leaving, you feel like everyone's looking at you, even though no one is looking at you. But I had Derek standing right in front of me, just watching what I was gonna do. And of course, I'm freaking nervous. I mean, I have my boss in front of me looking at me. I was speaking Spanish, and I was so nervous to the point where I just kept talking nonsense, and I knew Derek didn't understand anything. And I just kept winging it. I'm it was so bad that I even messed up the Dallas Cowboys name just because of how nervous I was. So after that, I'm okay, it's gonna be okay. We leave. I was shaking and everything. Derek, the following day, Derek realizes that the video never went up, because I guess he was gonna look at it, and he calls me into his office, and he's like, "Is there a reason why that video didn't go up?" And I'm just well, Derek, to be honest, I was so nervous. It was really bad, so I felt like I shouldn't put it out there because of how bad it was. And then I'm but to be fair, it was a preseason game, so I'm gonna take it as a practice round and blah blah. And Derek was nice enough, he's a nice guy. And he's okay, I understand, but I'm don't worry, next time I'll do better. And I did, and it was hard, but eventually I managed to get better. I mean, now I got some Emmys back there that somehow I managed to
Hey,
to
win. Big time.
But yeah, that was a very embarrassing story. But at the same time, whoever's listening, just if you fail at something at first, just keep trying, and then eventually you'll get better.
I love that.
Awesome,
I
Rob.
don't know if I can top that.
Have you had enough time?
Yeah, I think I have. I came up with 3 really quick ones. Okay. Number 1, I would say just getting to work on that deep blue on Bill Parcells, and because mainly from a personal standpoint, my first year I was still in college in 2003 when he took over his first training camp, and that was just such a memorable time for me. And just he's such a huge personality, and then come back, flash forward 15 years to get to kind of tell that story again. That was a lot of fun. Number 2, Jerry's Hall of Fame induction, and just that whole weekend, the party, the induction. And mainly the fact that we just kind of got to have fun. We didn't really have to work that weekend other than the game a couple nights before. We really just got to take it in. And just to be a part of that, I mean, the whole time I'm thinking I have no business being here, but I'm just going to crash this party. And then
I totally forgot about that. That rivals London. Everything.
Yeah.
everything about that was amazing, except the bus ride back from Canton to Cleveland was freaking miserable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For you, yeah, you in particular. But we got through it. It tells you it was a great weekend. And then to bring it back to football, I would just say, just covering the team, there's been a few really like special, fun seasons that where you watch the team grow and create all this momentum. You know, like in 06 when Tony Romo got the quarterback job and you saw the change into a new era and they made the playoffs. And, 2016 with Dak and Zeke, they're just where you're seeing history kind of being made with the franchise. And it's just so much fun to watch a team try to get to that level. And ultimately they didn't. But to be along for those types of rides are really cool. When a guy kind of steps up and takes control of a team, Miles Austin in 2009 kind of did that, and they kind of rode his momentum, turning into a star. So that's what makes this job so much fun, and that's why this season has just not been much fun. I mean, we love our jobs, but it's kind of what Amber was saying early in the show. It's just like, it's just frustrating because a lot of things kind of been taken from them this year with the injuries, and they haven't played well on top of it. So, you're just hoping they can get back to another season like that, because that's when the job really gets fun.
Yeah, you're so right. You work for the team. You're basically a fan, but you have to be professional, and you can't let your fandom override your job responsibilities. But you can't help but be a fan of the team, because you have that personal connection to these guys. You have that personal connection to the coaching staff. You talk to these guys. They work in the same building, and you create this, either it's almost like this unspoken bond where you don't really hang out with them and you don't really do things with them, but when you see each other, you respect them because you know how much work they put in, and you know how much time they're away from their families, because we go through the same thing with training camp and the long days during the season and things like that. And you can't help but get emotionally and personally attached to this team. And even though we work here and it's our jobs, it sucks whenever they're not good. Like right now, it sucks for us. Like this is not fun for us. Like it's a job, but at the same time, it's a lot more enjoyable when they are having success, and there are, you can support them and root them on. So all good stuff. Let's take our last break. When we come back, let's hand out our past midseason awards and critiques the last few minutes of the show. We will be right back. You are watching and listening to Hanging with the Boys.
Just like all of you, we at SeatGeek can't wait until we're back in the stands at full strength cheering on the Cowboys and singing along to our favorite songs again. We're using this time to make discovering, buying, and selling tickets to events in Dallas easier. Plus, every ticket purchased on SeatGeek is protected by our buyer guarantee, which means you'll get your money back or better if your event is canceled. Guaranteed. Download the SeatGeek app today, and when the time is right, let's go. SeatGeek.
It's game day. You know what that means. First, kebab prep. Steak, pepper, onion, steak, pepper, onion. Next, a counterclockwise lap around the room. Now the lucky grease-stained jersey goes on. And lastly, the dance. You know the one. This is a game day ritual no matter where you are. Whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com and keep the tradition alive and well. Hotels.com. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for Hanging with the Boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Hanging with the Boys.
Welcome back, SWBC Mortgage Living Room, Frisco, Texas. The last segment of Hanging with the Boys. Shannon Gross, Amber Garcia, Danny McCray, Rob Phillips. And hey, if you guys are looking for something to change up your dinner routine, help support local Frisco businesses by choosing one of over 30 restaurants at the Star District. For more information on delivery, takeout, curbside pickup, and dine-in availability, visit thestar.com. And trust me, I live about a 10-minute walk from the Star, and I go up there several times a week to get out of the house, stretch my legs with the family, go do some patio dining. It is well worth it. That's a pretty bustling place these days, especially with high school football and things going on up there. It's a cool place to go socially distance and just get out and kind of walk around because there's several things to do. So, all right, last 5 minutes of the show. Let's run through this really quick. I'll throw some things out there and we'll go around the horn and you all tell me what you think. Let's start with the player you want to see more of. Danny.
Amari Cooper. I think we need to have him to be a focal point of our offense. I don't like it when he kicks only the 5 yards out in the quick slants. I need to see him more involved, kind of like you see DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods. If you can't throw it to him, hand it to him, get him a jet sweep. Just make sure you get him involved in the game because I think that changes the dynamic of our offense.
Rob.
Tony Pollard, and that's not a knock on Zeke. I think they need to get the run game involved, period, and get both guys more involved because especially when you've got backup quarterbacks in the game, you got to have that type of balance to help the quarterback out. And the way Tony's been running, it's exciting. And, Zeke really gutted through that hamstring injury a couple days ago. But I think, with Tony, when he's giving you 2 20-plus yard gains on an offense that's been struggling with the injuries, like they need more of that. So I think getting that committee going will be really good. Somebody to complement Zeke.
Amber.
I would go with Garrett Gilbert. After what he did in the game against the Steelers, he wasn't perfect and all that, but he gave some things that we haven't been able to see at the quarterback position since Dak got hurt. So I would like to see more of him and what he could possibly do.
I agree with all of you. I think after Sunday, give me more Randy Gregory.
Yeah.
Give me more Gallimore. And where the hell has Bradley and Nye been on this team? Why haven't we seen what's going on? Have y'all heard anything behind the scenes of what's going on there? Because obviously there's something happening because everybody – that was probably the draft pick out of all of them that I heard the most buzz about from our fan base was like, I'm ready to see what this guy does. He was a beast in college. Have you guys heard anything as to why he's not getting on the field?
I haven't. And from what Mike said after they traded Everson Griffin, you thought, okay, he's going to get on the field, and I think he's only got like 6 defensive snaps all year. He was inactive last week, which really surprised me. I think at some point we're going to see him. They want to give Gregory all the snaps he can handle, I guess, and I totally get that the way he's playing. But yeah, I'm with you, Shannon. Like I'm actually writing that for later in the week. Like that's as far as young players go, he's the one I want to see more of.
All right, let's go to who is your. I don't even know if I should say this because it's hard to even bring this up with a season like this. Who's your MVP so far on this team, Rob?
That's hard. I mean, this might sound like a cop out, but I'm going to go Dak Prescott. They're 0-4 in full games without him, and I think they're taking steps forward without him. But I think what he was able to do, and the turnovers from Dak, from Zeke, from some of their top players hurt them early in the season. But he's the captain. He's the heart and soul of this team, and he's arguably their best player. And I think they really miss him on the field and in the locker room. They're still learning to deal with things without him.
I don't think that's a cop-out at all. I think that's a hell of an answer. Danny.
Listen, I got to show love to my special teams guy, CJ, man.
Yeah.
He's been out there making plays the entire season, recovering onside kicks, catching punt passes and running it back and putting us in position to score, making tackles, big tackles, and getting creating momentum for us from special teams to defense. He's been making some plays, and he's been a shining spot on the team. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to CJ.
Danny, I was thinking about writing that today. Like in terms of like just doing your job, games 1 through 9, I guess, he might be the best player on the team in terms of just doing what he's asked to do week in, week out.
I truly think so. I truly think so. I'm not just being biased to special teams. He's been making plays and standing out as a special teams player. He's making plays that affects the game and help us win.
Yeah.
Amber.
I would have to go with Greg Sterling. He's a guy, if it wasn't for him, the Cowboys would barely have scored any points or have any points on the scoreboard all throughout the season. I think he has been pretty good. If my memory serves me correctly, he's only missed one field goal attempt, and it was from the 50-plus yards, I think. So after the issues we've seen at the kicker position and just a lack of consistency there, I think that he would be a guy that has been pretty consistent as far as what he's been able to do when kicking for an extra point or field goals.
Yep, I agree with all the answers. Amber, I'm going to go with Zerline as well because just the crazy field goal that he made the other night, that I've never seen anything like that as long as I've been watching the NFL. The watermelon kick, and then he also had one hell of an onside kick, the little pooch kick that he did that they damn near recovered that thing. So everything they've asked him to do, he's done it and executed it to perfection. Okay, last question, the last one we have time for. Rob, what is your expectation of this team for the rest of the season?
Oh, man, I don't know. Like win total or just kind of generally speaking? Like I think.
Yeah. Let's say how many games do you expect them to win from here on out?
That's tough. I mean, I think they're going to get. I think they're going to get to a point where they get a couple more wins here down the stretch. I do think they can because if they just stop the turnovers and they shore some things up defensively, they're going to be in some games. So I don't know what their record is going to be at the end of this thing. Hopefully the injuries stop. I just want to see them play more. I think everybody wants to see more complimentary football like we saw against Pittsburgh. At least give yourself a chance in terms of kind of playing for each other and giving each unit a chance to be successful. If they can do that, then I think this might get – I don't know. To me, talk about the playoffs, you can't do that. You just got to focus on week to week trying to –
Playoffs?
Yeah. Jim Mora style. Amber saw that video last week. I showed her for the first time.
I could not stop laughing.
Playoffs? Yeah. Just try to get better. Honestly, that's all I want to see. Just get better week to week.
Fair enough. Danny.
Listen, if Sunday was a moral victory, I expect us to have a bunch of more of those. I don't see us winning too many more games just because I think some of the competition that we have coming up and teams getting healthy and playing better, I think is going to go against us with like Cincinnati, Baltimore. You see Dalvin Cook running crazy. Washington may be one of those ones that we get a win in, but I think we'll be competitive if we continue to play the way that we did play. And I also expect to see Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott, earn their money. I expect to see Kellen Moore get them out there and playing a little bit more and being a focal point of the offense because you see, like I said, it changes the dynamic of the game when those two guys are involved and the defense has to worry about them.
Kellen and Mike, we know y'all listen to this show. Please get Amari Cooper the ball so Danny will be happy. He can't stop talking about Amari.
You got to, man. He making $100 million. Why not?
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. Amber.
I think we all know the injuries have been a major problem this year for the Cowboys, and I don't think that's something that's going to stop. I hope we don't get to see more injured players, but I think that it's very unlikely, and we are going to keep having guys that get hurt. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys haven't showed me enough to make me feel like they are able to make adjustments when a guy gets hurt and goes out. So I don't think that the Cowboys managed to make all the pieces work. I'm excited and hopeful for what I saw against the Steelers, but at the same time, I haven't seen any kind of consistency, so I don't know if they are able to maintain that throughout the rest of the season, even though the next opponents are supposed to be a lot easier than what they were facing against the Steelers.
Yep, I agree with all of you. I think as a fan, I think all we can ask for the rest of the season is just progressively get a little bit better each week. Like, learn your gap assignments and stick to those. Learn your coverages. Let's don't try to win every game with 8 trick plays. Let's get to a point where you can throw in one here and there, but you stick to your core. Zeke, give them Amari, throw in some CD Lamb, give me some Michael Gallup, and let's just go beat some people, man. This has been fun. This has been a fun 2 days. We are out of time, and we will take a couple of days to kind of regroup ourselves, get some energy back to finish this last leg of the season. It's been great hanging out with you. Amber, thank you. Danny, thank you. Rob, thank you. This has been fun. Maybe we can talk to Boston to letting us mix it up more often. This was good times. We will be back next week, all on our regular shows at our regular times. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed it. Take the bye week, watch some football, eat a lot of food, get some rest, and let's hit it hard next time, same place on Hanging with the Boys. Thank you, Chris Beam, for keeping us going.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?